Good morning, all. I see that everyone is still just coming in. The chat is on. We have the chat open right now. We like to start the event that way so everyone can say good morning. Feel free to share where you're joining us from. Anything that's on your mind, it's just a nice way to, this is what we would be doing, grabbing a cup of coffee, chatting with your friends as you come into the room. So please feel free to say hi. Nice to see you all. Okay, great. It looks like most people have been able to come in from the waiting room. So since we have a full day, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. But don't worry, I have some talking points here to get us started. So you still have a moment to go ahead and get settled. So great seeing the chat is open so everyone can greet one another and say good morning. So I'm Adam North. I'm the Director of Professional Development for Every Child California, and welcome to Efficiently Managing Eligibility, Need, and Family Enrollment, presented by Every Child California in partnership with Monarch Link. If you've never attended an event with us before, Every Child California, we are a nonprofit membership association. We advocate for the quality and funding standards. Our mission is to inspire and educate leadership in early learning and care programs. So again, we're a membership-based organization. So if you're new to us, I'll share information down the road here on how you can be more engaged with us. We're also here with Monarch Link today. Monarch Link is our professional development partner, and they help us co-develop these trainings. They operate a training and resource platform that serves as a hub for training your staff. And they also produce sample handbooks and other reference tools for California state-funded programs. And I'll share more information on how you can connect with them later as well. I think right now I'd like to do some housekeeping items, kind of what our FAQ, if you will. PowerPoints today that you're seeing on the screen is available. If you missed it and you're here, you already got to the right place. So on that screen where you logged into the webinar, there's also a button there that you can download the PowerPoints. We have today and tomorrow now available, putting a couple finishing touches on day 3. Okay, so go ahead and download those so you can follow along. Today, we will be utilizing the Q&A box to answer questions. We have the chat open now, but we'll be turning it off in a moment. And that's because we can keep track of these Q&A. It's really important to us that we answer all your questions. And so it's a very easy and methodical way to make sure that we get to everyone in a timely way. So when you ask questions in that Q&A box, it would be really helpful to us if you include all the details that you can. One, because we'll be answering questions in order. So let's say you ask a question like, hey, can you elaborate more on that? And I get to your question 2 minutes later, I may not know what part you were talking about. So if you add a couple of details in there, then we're able to answer your question more efficiently. Also, what would help us today, that if it's not clear from your question, I would encourage you to include the program type that you're referring to. So, is it a CCTR program? Is it a CSPP program? If you include that too, we have experts here joining us today that can help us make sure we answer with that correct lens. And we'll also be pausing at points to discuss questions live. So not everything will be typed out. We'll also have some live Q&A as well. But a number of the questions will be answered in that Q&A box. The next question we get asked a lot, are we recording this? Yes, we are. And so if you have to step away this morning, we're recording it. You can come back and access the recording for up to 30 days. We do that just because we want to make sure information is always current. So fingers crossed, in the next 30 days, most everything will be the same and the recording will stay current. And then that recording will be posted right where you logged in today. So where you logged in to join webinar, that button will change to watch recording. So like I said, no worries if you get pulled away today, we'll have all the information recorded. I just also want to nod to all those in attendance today that have been to this event before. We took the summer and Monarch Link and Every Child California, we went through a lot of the feedback that you've all provided for this program. And I'm happy to say that we were able to implement a lot of it. So we've added more scenarios to the presentation because we know we heard a lot of feedback that you like the scenarios. and more opportunities to interact with the material in a more organic way. And we've also expanded opportunities to ask questions. So we'll have more pauses, more opportunities to engage. And we're hoping that that really helps provide opportunities for you to ask questions from your particular program perspective. Speaking of programs, and we want to also acknowledge that a large majority of the people in attendance today operate programs under both CDE and CDSS. So as such, today's program will cover both umbrellas, all programs in the state. And Monarch Link's done a really great job of being very intentional with how we present the material so that you can tell what program, the regulations, directives that we're talking about, what program that applies to. And Christy will walk you through some of those samples here in a moment. So that little upfront education piece that Christy will walk you through will help you interact with the material in a more efficient way over the next 3 days. So speaking of programs, we're very excited and grateful to be welcoming representatives from both CDE and CDSS today. And so I want to give a shout out to them, a great appreciation for them joining. We all know how busy they are, and they're here with us today to help answer your questions. And so we appreciate this opportunity to build community with you and to hear from you directly. So with that, I'd like to do a quick introduction of who we have with us today. From the California Department of Education, or the Early Education Division Policy Office, we have Danielle Davis. So thank you, Danielle, for being here. From CDSS, we have representatives from the Program Integrity and Improvement Units. So we have Vanessa Saunders, Vina Nguyen, Esmeralda Ramirez, who may or may not be, some of these people will be here tomorrow, but I'm going to introduce everyone now, okay? Miguel Zuluaga is here. Shelly Swift is here. Thank you all for being here. From CDSS, also from the Program Quality Improvement Branch, we have Jonathan Yang. Thank you, Jonathan, for being here. To help support pilot county, so when you ask a question, you may want to also note, hey, I'm in a pilot county, and what pilot county you're in. We know there's some unique circumstances. So to support us with those questions today, we have Lorita Riga, the Alameda County Pilot Manager. Thank you, Lorita, for being here. And to help support Every Child California and our community, we have Andrea Fernandez. You may know her. She's a past board president. She's the current Southern Section member at large. And as you can see, she's in office on the front lines right now doing the good work that you all do. So thank you, Andrea, for being here. With that, thank you for hearing me and all my introduction notes. We want to jump right in. I think we're all ready. I see everyone is here. So I want to introduce our presenters today from Monarch Link. We have Christy Tate and Janie Zazueta Perez. Thank you both for being here and presenting this material today. I am going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Adam, for the introductions. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to be presenting this morning, and then after break, Miss Janie will be presenting. So give me just a second to change gears here. Adam, can you confirm that you can see my screen just fine?
Yeah, it looks great, Christy.
Okay, sounds good. So our goal for this training today and the next couple days is for you to build skills in all areas related to the family data file, to learn those key concepts and takeaway strategies to efficiently certify families and children enrolled in both California Department of Social Services, Child Care and Development Programs, and the California Department of Education, Early Education Division subsidized programs. So to achieve this goal, we are going to be going over several topics over the next few days. Today, we will be covering how to select a child for enrollment, the components of the family data file, and determining family size, along with the part 1 of eligibility. Tomorrow, on day 2, We will continue with eligibility, with the primary focus being on income eligibility. And then we'll move on to covering need for services after break. And on day 3, we will cover family fees, followed by completing the application for services and notice of actions. We will conclude with bringing everything we learned together by organizing the family data file. So as Adam shared, for each day, you're going to access this live virtual training through the same webinar login button you used today to log in. Scroll down the page to access the presentation PDF for each training day. In addition, there is also a button that's kind of a light blue turquoise color that has the pilot program contacts that can be downloaded if you need that piece. Note that webinar recordings, as Adam shared, will be available here the day after each presentation. And we are going to have those actually accessible through October 30th. And right there where it has the day 1 image, that is where that video will lay, and that will be there. That will be uploaded later today, and it'll be there for sure by tomorrow morning. Regarding questions, we will be using the Zoom webinar Q&A located down here in your controls. And we ask again, just to reiterate what Adam shared, that you only ask questions that pertain to the topic we are currently covering. When posting a question, please be specific, such as indicating what program you are asking about, if it's a pilot program, along with the full topic. At the conclusion of each section, we will be checking in to see if there are any questions that our co-presenters would like to answer live. In addition to Q&A, we have quite a few polls built throughout the presentation, and this is really built to provide opportunities for you to practice scenarios and check for understanding. So many of you are familiar with the Zoom polling, and that is the tool that we're going to be using today. Let's get started by launching just a quick poll to see who we have in the room today. Hey, I just launched that poll. Sometimes when these polls are launched, they can sometimes be hiding in the corner of your screen. So let's just give everyone a moment to answer those 3 questions on the poll. Okay, we'll give everyone just about 5 more seconds, and then we will look at our answers here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. After I end each poll today, then we will turn around and share the results with you. So what best describes your current position? So looking at all of these, it looks like our room, 47% of our folks are enrollment specialists, 11% directors, we have site supervisors, coordinators, we have a few folks from our fiscal and data teams. Just thank you so much for all being here. It looks like we have a wide range of different position types here today. And what best describes the programs you are responsible for? So 19% of our folks only operate a Department of Social Service program. 13% only operate a part-day preschool program. So for you part-day preschool only programs, we will be sure to let you know over the next couple days when we'll be doing the need and fee sections, any areas like huge sections that don't apply to you. And 52%, so a little bit over half, operate both Department of Social Services and CDE programs. How confident are you as it relates to determining eligibility based on the current regulations? 21% very confident, fully understand the current eligibility regulations. 73% somewhat confident, I understand current eligibility regulations, but would like to hear it just one more time. So we had quite a few changes last July 1st, and then especially in the preschool programs this July 1st. So we are going to be going over all of those updates and how they intertwine with our previous regulations and the current regulations over the next few days. Okay, so in the event that a topic only pertains to a specific program or programs, we will verbally call out the program, or we might call out its acronym, and the program specific portrait, which you see here, will be displayed on the applicable side. So you are going to see these portraits and its program acronym throughout the presentations. If there is no portrait on the screen, then that means it applies to all programs. Here is the portrait and the acronym for Part Day State Preschool. So PDCSPP, that refers to Part Day Preschool. When you see FDCSPP, that refers to Full Day State Preschool. In the event that a topic pertains to both part and full day state preschool, both portraits will be displayed. State migrant programs will be referenced as Cmig and Cmap. General child care as CCTR. Alternative payment as CAPP. CHON as children with severe disabilities. California Work Opportunity and Responsibility for Kids Child Care Program as CalWorks. And CFCC will be used to refer to the Family Child Care Home Education Network Program contract. Note that since pilot programs vary within participating counties, we are unable to reference their differences throughout this presentation. Therefore, we ask that you direct any specific pilot program questions to your county pilot coordinator. We are also very fortunate today to have Alameda County's pilot manager, Larita, with us today, available to answer your pilot questions. If asking, again, a specific pilot question in the Q&A, please indicate the pilot county you are referring to. Before we jump into today's topics, we want to take a brief moment to review the program instruments as they are referenced within the lessons. CDE and CDSS programs have their own instruments. The intent of the program instruments are to assist agencies in preparing for a successful review, as they are used by review staff to complete all reviews. Think of it as kind of an open book test. All of the program requirements and elements needed for successful program operations and reviews are embedded within these documents. The program instruments are broken down into 5 key dimensions and 22 items. Please note that all items are not applicable to all programs. Applicable programs are identified within each item. Okay, now that we've covered the logistics, let's get started, beginning with the section on family selection. In this section, we will cover the admission policies and procedures requirements for selecting a family for enrollment, including the waiting list requirements, admission priorities, including how to use the income ranking chart, and displacement. Let's get started with reviewing the overarching admission policies and procedure requirements. Based on the program monitoring instruments, this compliance indicator states families with children enrolled in the programs are selected according to the priorities of that program. Evidence of compliance includes the review of records of contractors' use of waiting list, or if applicable, centralized eligibility list, and written materials for parents regarding enrollment priorities. To ensure protocols are clear to staff, it is recommended that an agency document strategies used to meet eligibility compliance indicators. Here is our sample program planning and monitoring guide. Here we list that admission policies and procedures may be typically found on our organization's website and within our parent participation handbook. Note that for licensed center-based programs, in addition to the Title V regulations, the admission procedures must also conform to the requirements outlined in Title 22 licensing regulations. Let's look at what the regulations say regarding the waiting list requirement. The regulations state that contractors must maintain a current waiting list in accordance with admission priorities. Contractors may satisfy the requirement for maintaining a waiting list by participating in a county's childcare centralized eligibility list. As vacancies occur, contractors must contact applicants in order of priority from the waiting list. During a review, you will be required to provide records of the current list by contract type, along with evidence of your system for ranking families in priority order. In addition, during a review, eligibility files for the most recently enrolled families will be reviewed. So what might this look like at your agency? Clear systems must be in place to maintain and keep records of enrollment activity. For example, an agency might use a binder system or electronic system to keep the history of enrollment and activity. When openings become available in a program, children are enrolled in order of specific program admission priorities based on program type. These enrollment priorities vary from program to program. Before jumping into the specific priorities for each program, I'd like to share how to use the income ranking chart, as the method is the same across all programs and will be referenced frequently when going over the actual enrollment priorities. Let's get started. The income ranking table is based on family size and average monthly gross income. Rank 1 includes families with incomes between 0 and the amount identified in the rank 1 boxes. These families are at equal priority and are admitted before families in all higher rankings. So what would this look like in practice? Step 1, find the family size on the table. Step 2, move down the family size column to locate the income amount. Step 3, you're going to determine the ranking. If the income falls directly on the rank, then that's the rank number. If the income falls between two different rankings, then use the higher ranking number. I'm going to say that one more time because that's one of the most common errors. If the income falls between two different rankings, you're going to use the higher ranking number. Let's look at an example. The Halberts are a family of 4 with a gross monthly income of $2,714. Go to the column that matches the size of the family, which in this example, we are looking for a family of 4. Next, move down the column to the location where the family's adjusted monthly income of $2,714 falls on the chart. The family's income, $2,714, is more than $2,709, rank 29, and less than $2,803, rank 30. We adjust again to that higher ranking number, placing the Halbert family at rank 30. Okay, so now it is your turn. You're going to need to use this chart that we have up here on the screen. Give me a second. I'm going to launch the poll. This poll has 3 questions and it is name that ranking. So we're going to give everyone a couple minutes to go through and figure out which ranking each of these scenarios are. Again, that poll might be hiding on your screen. Okay, we're going to end this poll in about 30 seconds. Okay, let's see how we did. I'm going to go ahead and end that poll. And I'm sharing the results with you now. Okay, the first one. Phyllis has a family size of 5. Okay, so we go on here and here's the family size of 5 column with a gross income of $1,142. So we're going down the chart to find family of 5, gross income of $1,142. That falls between rank 10 and rank 11. Remember, we adjust to the higher ranking, right? So that family, the correct answer is 11. The next one, we have a family size of 4. We're going to go to the family size of 4 column. And this one, $42, right? So anything from $0 to the amount identified in the income ranking chart would be rank 1. That's where you see like that higher adjustment number. Okay, there is no rank 0. There is no rank 0. So if you don't see, if it falls below that amount identified in the rank 1 boxes, they are rank 1. Again, there is no rank 0. And family of 3 with a gross income of $2,918. Okay, here we go. We found this on the chart and my screen jumped there. Okay, that's going to fall right between rank 36 and 37, correct? So again, we're going to adjust to the higher amount. That's rank 37. Okay, is there anything in the Q&A room that we'd like to talk about regarding the income ranking chart before we move into the actual admission priorities?
Not at this time, Christy.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
Let's now jump into the specific priorities broken down by program. Okay, this is where you're going to need to put your different program hats on if you operate multiple programs. And if it doesn't apply to you, just hold on tight and we will get to your program here in just a second. We are going to start with looking at the enrollment priorities for general childcare, alternative payment, and family childcare home education network contracts. I'd like to point out that children enrolled in these programs must be age eligible to participate. Age eligible children may participate in the program from birth through 12 years of age. Note that some programs, especially like the general child care program, they might have a specific age group built into their grant. Maybe they're only serving infants and toddlers and school-age children. But in general, these programs can serve children from birth through 12 years of age. In addition, children unable to care for themselves due to a documented disability may be served to age 21. In the general child care, alternative payment, and Family Child Care Home Education Network programs. First priority is given to children with an open Child Protective Services case or children that have been identified as being at risk of abuse, neglect, or exploitation. Second priority is based on the income ranking order. For these programs, their income cannot exceed 85% of the state median income, also known by its acronym SMI. Within each income ranking category, enroll exceptional needs child first, then by entry with the earliest application date. For example, there may be 10 children waiting for enrollment within rank 1, and only 5 openings are available. The child with exceptional needs within rank 1 would receive services first. Then the remaining 4 openings would be prioritized by oldest application date until the program has filled the 5 openings. Now let's review the enrollment priorities for children enrolled in migrant child care or migrant alternative payment programs. To start, I'd like to point out that for migrant programs, a family's income cannot exceed 85% of the state median income. In these programs, first priority is given to children with families that have moved within the preceding 12 months. Second priority is given to children of families that qualified under the first priority in the past 5 years and are currently dependent on agricultural work. And finally, the third priority is given to children of families that reside in rural agricultural areas. For all enrollment priorities within each income ranking, again, you're going to prioritize the children with exceptional needs or severely disabled children first, then enroll by oldest application date. Note that contractors operating in federally funded public migrant housing centers must reserve the first 14 days of the enrollment period for residents of the public migrant housing center. Okay, now it's your turn. So let's check for understanding regarding the Department of Social Service Programs enrollment. Okay, there's 4 questions. I just launched that poll. It might be hiding in the corner of your screen. We'll give everyone a few moments. Remember, when you're looking at these questions, these only pertain to those programs we just reviewed for the Department of Social Services. Okay, we'll be ending this poll in about 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. And I will share the results with you, and then we will talk through each of them. Again, these are for the Department of Social Service Programs. Retta is preparing to select families for some upcoming vacancies. She must contact applicants in order of priority as vacancies occur. That is true. Okay, basically you cannot handpick children for enrollment. There are specific enrollment priorities that you must follow. Number 2, during the selection process for the general child care program, Retta must give first priority to children that have an open CPS case or children at risk. And number 3, Retta is reviewing her selection list and realizes that she has 3 families within income ranking 5 who must be admitted first. That's where the children with exceptional needs comes in. So you have 3 families within rank 1. You need to first look to see, do any of the children within rank 5 have a child with exceptional needs? If no, or if you've exhausted those children, then you're going to move with the entry with the oldest application date. I do want to say that there were 14 people that says the family with the greatest need. And we are going to go over that here in just a few minutes. In the regulations, it is very clear that we cannot rank a family based on who has the greatest need for services. It's based on CPS or at risk, and then based on the income eligibility, those priorities, those rankings we just covered. And what is the maximum state median income for income eligible families enrolled in general child care, alternative payment, the Family Child Care Home Education Network contracts, and the state migrant programs? It's 85%. We're going to be talking about state preschool here in just actually in the next slide, and that's going to be 100% or 115%. For the Department of Social Service Programs we just went through, it is still 85% of the state median income. Okay, before I go to the Q&A, I would like to go through the enrollment priorities for state preschool. Does that sound okay, Janie? Or is there something in there specific to the programs we just discussed?
Let me take a look. I think right now you can go ahead and go into the remaining.
And then we'll spend some time with some live Q&A after this section. Okay. Okay, let's now look at the state preschool program. So the state preschool programs, this is where we have seen a lot of changes as of July 1st of this year, as it relates to the enrollment priorities. I'd like to point out that children enrolled in the part and full day preschool programs must be age eligible based on the 3- and 4-year-old definitions. So these definitions did not change. A 4-year-old is defined as children who have their 4th birthday on or before December 1st of the fiscal year they are being served. While a 3-year-old is defined as children who have their 3rd birthday on or before December 1st of the fiscal year they are being served. In addition, children who have their 3rd birthday on or after December 2nd of the fiscal year may be enrolled in state preschool on or after their 3rd birthday. So this means if you have a 3-year-old that's coming into your program and their 3rd birthday is, say, on January 15th, they could technically start on January 15th on their 3rd birthday. Okay, this is new to our state preschool programs this year. Both part and full day state preschool programs must set aside or reserve 5% of their funded enrollment for children with exceptional needs. This means that slots held from 5% of your funded enrollment, your preschool program funded enrollment, can only be filled by children with exceptional needs. To the extent possible within this enrollment category, you would enroll children in income ranking order. If 2 or more families have the same ranking, you're going to enroll the family with the earliest application date first. Note that only the child in the family who has exceptional needs may be enrolled under this criteria. And for full day programs, a family must also meet a need criteria. We will be going over, since this is an eligibility category now, we will be going over the documentation requirements for that later today. Okay, so we have 5% in state preschool set aside for exceptional needs children. Now, the remaining 95% of your program's funded enrollment for preschool programs, you must contact applicants in order of those specific enrollment priorities. Okay, we're going to first look at the enrollment priorities step by step for the part day preschool program. We will go over the full day preschool program enrollment priorities after this section. Okay, so put your part day state preschool program hat on first. As with other programs, first priority is given to CPS and at-risk children. Second priority is given to a child with exceptional needs from an income-eligible family and enrolled in income ranking order. Third priority is given to eligible 4-year-old children not enrolled in transitional kindergarten. Within each income ranking category, enroll exceptional needs children first by the earliest application date. Fourth priority is given to eligible 3-year-olds. Within the second, third, and fourth priorities, a family's income cannot exceed 100% of the state median income. This is new for this year for state preschool programs. 100% of the state median income. After the first through fourth priorities have been exhausted, a part day preschool program may enroll children from families whose income is no more than 15% above the eligibility income threshold. Within this priority, enroll exceptional needs children first, then 4-year-olds, then 3-year-olds. Note that no more than 10% of children enrolled of the program's entire contract may qualify under this criteria. Once all otherwise eligible children have been exhausted, approved state preschool sites operating within the attendance boundaries of a qualified free or reduced price middle school, 3 or 4-year-olds may be enrolled with no eligibility requirements. Prior to July 1st, this only applied to 4-year-olds. Now this applies to both 3 and 4-year-olds. And finally, children enrolling to provide expanded learning and care to transitional kindergarten or kindergarten pupils may be enrolled in a wraparound setting if the family meets eligibility criteria. Okay, let's now look at the enrollment priorities for full-day state preschool programs. As with the other programs, first priority is given to CPS and at-risk children. Second priority is given to a child with exceptional needs from an income-eligible family that meets need criteria and enrolled in income ranking order. Third priority is given to eligible 4-year-olds not enrolled in transitional kindergarten, and the family meets a need criteria. Fourth priority is given to eligible 3-year-olds, and again, family meets a need criteria. So within these rankings or within these priorities, you're going to enroll children based on their income ranking category. After the first, second, third, and fourth priorities have been exhausted, a full-day preschool program may enroll children from families whose income is no more than 15% above the eligibility income threshold. This has been around for part-day programs for quite some time. This is new as of July 1st for our full-day state preschool programs. Within this priority, again, enroll exceptional needs children first, then 4-year-old children before 3-year-old children. Note that no more than 10% of children enrolled of the program's entire contract can qualify under this criteria. Next, a family that meets the eligibility criteria but does not meet a need criteria, within this priority, you can enroll 4-year-old children and then 3-year-old children based on ranking order. Okay, so that sixth priority, the family is eligible but does not have a need for services. And finally, once all otherwise eligible children have been exhausted, approved state preschool sites operating within the attendance boundaries of a qualified free or reduced price middle school, 3 or 4-year-olds may be enrolled with no eligibility and no need requirements. To the extent possible, you're going to enroll those children in income ranking order. Again, as of July 1st, it's both 3 or 4-year-old children. Now that we've reviewed the specific priorities for each program, I'd like to point out a couple other things. But before we do that, let's take a moment to do a poll for our preschool program. So that last poll was for our Department of Social Service programs. Let's check our understanding for our CDE programs, which are the state preschool. Hey, I just launched that poll. This poll has 6 questions. We'll give everyone a couple minutes to go through those questions. Again, these questions pertain to state preschool. Okay, I was just reading through these questions and I think the wrong questions, Mr. Brendan, were put in here. So, sorry about that. These are questions for, these questions will be for our next section. So I'm going to go ahead and end this poll and peek in here at some of the other polls to see if maybe they got swapped out here. There they are. Okay, let's try this again. Sorry about that. It looks like there's 2 in there. Okay, I just launched the correct poll. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to end this poll in about 30 seconds. Okay, let's go through these polling questions. Okay, I'm sharing the results with you, so you should see these on your screen now. Okay, number 1 for this fiscal year. So July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. What percent of funded enrollment must Scranton state preschool programs reserve or set aside for children with exceptional needs? So for this year, it's 5%. And again, that's for both part day and full day state preschool programs. You have that 5% set aside for children with exceptional needs. If I'm going to just kind of go one step further, so this year it's 5%. Next program year, so beginning next July 1st, if you look in this regulation, it's going to be 7.5%. And then the following program year after that will be 10%, and then it will stay at 10%. So there's going to be a transition or an increase of exceptional needs set aside from year to year. But for this program year, 5%. Number 2, Retta is working on family selection for her state preschool program. She must ensure that CPS and at-risk children are enrolled after 4-year-olds in income ranking order. That is false, right? Our CPS at-risk children are given the highest priority in our programs. Within the second, third, and fourth priorities, a family's income cannot exceed what percent of the state median income? It's 100%. State preschool, 100% of the state median income. The Department of Social Service programs, your alternative payment, CalWorks, Family Childcare Home Education Network contracts, state migrant programs, general childcare programs. That's the 85% max of the SMI. State preschool, 100%. Yes, they are different. That is new as of July 1st. Number 4, Scranton State Preschool Director Kelly is reviewing the amount of families Retta has enrolled whose income is no more than 15% over 100% of the SMI. What percent must Retta stay within to ensure they're in compliance? Okay, so you can only enroll up to 10% of your total state preschool funded enrollment under this enrollment priority. Number 5, approve state preschool sites operating with attendance boundaries of a qualified FRPM school. Only 4-year-old children may be enrolled without establishing eligibility or need criteria. Okay, that is false. As of July 1st, both 3- and 4-year-old children may qualify under this enrollment priority. Okay, I just have a few more slides to share, and then we're going to do some live, spend some time with some live Q&A. Okay, so we've reviewed the specific priorities for each program. I would like to take an opportunity to just point out a few more things. A family that has a child or children enrolled in a program may be allowed to enroll additional children provided there exists an appropriate program opening, such as infant care or services to school-aged children in which to enroll the child. Let's look at an example here. The youngest in this family is enrolled in a full-day state preschool program. The agency also has an alternative payment program that has an opening. Therefore, the family may also enroll the older sibling based on the parent's need for services. Although you can enroll a family into multiple programs, note that effective July 1st, there is a difference in the duration of services between, say, the alternative payment program which is 12 months, and the preschool programs, which is 24-month eligibility. We will be discussing the duration of services today at the beginning of the eligibility section. So please hold your questions regarding the duration of services until we review that content today. Let's add another dynamic to this household. So this household also cares for 2 foster children who are siblings. Based on the definition for family, the 2 foster children are considered their own family. Therefore, these families would be prioritized separately. Based on the regulations, contractors cannot deny service to nor assign a lower priority to a family that needs less than full-time services. The department may grant a waiver to the priorities in order to serve specific populations, including children with exceptional needs or children of prisoners. Requests may not include a waiver of the fee schedule or admission of ineligible families. Waiver requests must be submitted to the appropriate department and approved prior to implementation. And finally, if it is necessary to displace families, families must be displaced in reverse order of admission priorities. So this can be really stressful in the event that families will be displaced from your program due to various reasons, such as budget cuts or over enrollment. I would highly recommend you contact the appropriate department consultant or analyst to see if there are other options and or to inform them of your specific situation. In the end, if there are no other options and families must be displaced, you will start with the last enrollment priority and displace families in reverse order of enrollment priorities. Okay, let's take it to the polls to check for understanding, and then we're going to spend a little time with our Q&A panelists. Okay, this one just has 4 questions applicable to all of our programs. We'll give everyone just a couple minutes to go Okay, I'm going to end this poll in about 30 seconds, and then we will go over those questions and jump over to our folks in the Q&A room. Okay, let's end that poll and go through the answers here. I'm sharing the results with you now. Number 1, parent Stanley's youngest is enrolled in the general childcare toddler classroom. Can Stanley's school-age child also be enrolled in the agency's alternative payment program? The answer is yes, as long as the alternative payment program has openings or funding to serve Stanley's school-age child. Number 2, at the time of certification, Stanley's foster child is enrolled in general child care. Can Stanley's biological child also be enrolled in the program? Okay, these are treated as 2 separate families. So no, Stanley's biological child will need to be prioritized as a separate family. Again, those are 2 separate families. Number 3, parent Stanley is within rank 21 on the waiting list and works 25 hours per week. Angela is within rank 23 and works 35 hours per week. Whose child should Retta enroll first? Okay, again, Stanley's child, the correct answer is Stanley's child because he falls within a lower income ranking. Again, we cannot, there is nowhere on the enrollment priorities that give a family basically an enrollment priority for need for services does not exist. Okay, you can't enroll a family because based on their need, their level of need. It's based on those specific enrollment priorities we just discussed. Number 4, Scranton's budget was significantly reduced and the agency will need to disenroll families. What criteria must be followed? Okay, you do not displace them in reverse order of enrollment priority. I'm sorry, of the enrollment date. You do displace them in reverse order of the program specific admission priorities. Let me correct myself there. The correct answer is you displace them in reverse order of program admission priorities. It has nothing to do with when they were enrolled. Okay, I'd like to touch base with folks in the Q&A world. Let's go ahead and start. Danielle, with the Department of Education, is there anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, I think just mentioning really quickly, I know this is a little confusing because we're kind of teetering a line right now because what passed in the budget is there's now a cleanup bill that's in the process of still being signed by the governor. So we don't know when exactly it's going to be signed, if it's going to be signed. We are anticipating that all bills will be signed by the 30th of September, so we will know. But the reason I bring that up is because when we look at 3-year-olds being eligible for FRPM, and then some of those priorities where children with exceptional needs are still listed outside of the second priority. So in those two, what is it? Priorities 3 and 4, where it's 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds that are prioritized, and then you would prioritize exceptional needs over children without exceptional needs. If you, the bill is Assembly Bill 185. If you look at that bill, there are some cleanup things to change some of that. So 1, children that are 3 years old can be enrolled under the FRPM eligibility, and 2, that cleans up those priorities. So it's, when you look at it, hopefully once that bill is signed, it's less confusing. I know we got a question about how would you have any children left over in priorities 3 and 4 if they're enrolled in 2. So there is a bill out there that is attempting to clean all that language up. However, it is not passed, which is partially the reason why the guidance has not come out from CDE, because we're awaiting final answer on that. And so once that comes out, CDE will be pushing to get a bunch of guidance to the field, and it will seem quick and fast as it goes coming at you. So I apologize for that. It's a lot of guidance, but we want to make sure we get information out to you as quickly as possible. But we are still waiting for AB 185 to be signed. So just as a, just sort of FYI out there.
Thank you so much, Danielle. And we have a keen eye on AB 185, and we're just waiting for it to be signed. So we will update the content, and I think that will relieve a lot of folks too of feeling like our entire program is going to be exceptional needs child, and it won't, you know, no longer be a mixed group of kiddos. So what she's saying kind of here, looking at this slide, like, Danielle, this part will go away, right? And it'll just be based off of earliest application date.
Correct.
So we are watching for that. Anything else? Did you have anything else, Danielle, before we check in with the Department of Social Service folks?
I do not think so.
Okay. Well, we'll be here the next 3 days, so thank you so much. And our folks from the Department of Social Services, is there anything that you would like to reiterate, or are there common topics here that you'd like us to talk a little bit about?
Not that I don't have any. The PII team, do they have anything?
I didn't have anything either. Enjoying the time that you're giving to walk through actual scenarios, though.
It really helps putting it into perspective, you know.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Actually, I did
go
want
ahead.
to say something. Is that okay? Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
I did want to bring something up. So this question came in. I keep seeing questions about families that are experiencing homelessness. Where do they rank in priority? And I'm speaking just for state preschool. Within state preschool, children that are experiencing homelessness are going to go in on the 3rd and 4th priorities with eligible 4-year-olds and eligible 3-year-olds. Anytime there's an eligibility category that's not based on income, but it's required for them to be enrolled in income ranking order, such as in priority 3 and 4, you have to self-certify the family's income. You're not required to collect all the documentation, do all the like, you just have to have them self-certified. That's what their priority order is going to be based on. That's what their family fee is going to be based on. But those families that are experiencing homelessness will be enrolled in the 3rd and 4th priorities for state preschool. So hopefully,
and most likely they're going to be those lower income rankings, so we'll be able to scoop them up quickly. I think sometimes folks are looking for all of the eligibility categories within the enrollment priorities, and you're not going to find them there. A lot of it is based on that income ranking chart itself.
That's correct. And something to also know, if they don't fall in any eligibility category, they would be enrolled after all. I mean, if they don't fall in any priority category, that's just, these are just priorities for enrollment. This doesn't mean every single child might fall in these. If they don't fall in one of these, they would be enrolled after. So just keep that in mind also.
And Andrea or Larita, would you like to add anything at this point?
There was a question that came up in the Q&A about at-risk students, the CPS children, and if they have to turn in all the required documents before being enrolled first. And there are 2 different things between certification, you know, the 9600, and licensing and what they require. So remember to keep those separate. Because there are different timelines for like the physical and immunizations for licensing. So there is a window of 30 days that they can turn those in after starting. So just keep that in mind, that those 2 things have separate timelines.
Thank you so much. That's really important to remember, especially with our high-risk folks.
Christy, I did want to mention, just because I've kind of seen this question a bit. I'm just going to read this one because it kind of captures a lot of what the questions have been, but can you go over the CSPP full day enrollment of children with special needs? What if you have more than 5%? Does only the first 5% get priority? If children with special needs are over income, is there a limit to percentage of enrollment? So we've kind of gotten this question like in bits and pieces of it. So I think this captures some of the uncertainty out there. So I just wanted to, clarify, once you meet that 5%, it doesn't just stop there. You can still enroll more children beyond the 5%. That is just the percentage of this year, and then it's going to increase over the next couple of years. But I see Danielle come on. I don't know if you want to expand on that as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. I want to make sure that there's no confusion. So the 5% set aside does not use the priorities listed in these slides. The 5% set aside is separate from those priorities. So when we look at children with exceptional needs now being second priority, that is only for those above and beyond what have already been enrolled in the set aside. So hopefully that makes it a little more clear. And then, as you'll note, children with exceptional needs is one of that are really high over income are one of those categories of children that are not prioritized. So they will be enrolled after all of the priorities. And I have seen many people with their concerns that, children or classrooms will now be full of children with exceptional needs and no typically developing children. And while the CD would like to very much state our excitement about having fully inclusive state preschool classrooms, we are hearing your concerns. This is not a law that was drafted by CDE, however. So this is a law that we are charged as a department to follow, and we're providing guidance for, but this is a law developed by the legislature, and this is where their priorities are in ensuring that children with exceptional needs have a place to go in a least restrictive environment. And that is an important key value, clearly, to the legislature of California, the governor of California, and definitely to CDE, as you can see by the actions. And so we want to make sure that it's very clear. This is a good thing for these children to have a place to have a least restrictive environment. We are going to be working with our PQI consultants. We'll be working with contractors. If you're not able to meet the set aside, or if you have concerns about the set aside, etc., we'll be working with you and working with your community partners to help facilitate these relationships to ensure that contractors have support. We're not just throwing you out there and hoping you figure out how to swim on your own. We're gonna make sure that you guys have some support, and we understand it can feel a little scary when there's a big change like this happening, but it is a positive thing for not only children and families, but just our state as a whole, to make sure that children with exceptional needs have environments where they can learn. So I think that is all I have to say on the topic at this moment.
Thank you so much. And are we okay to go to break? Is this a good spot to break? We're about halfway through our morning together.
I think so. Let me see if Adam pops on.
Adam, are you out there?
I'm answering questions. I'm in it. I'm in it. This is great. Thank you everyone for chiming in and participating, our panelists. And thank you for answering the questions. It lets us know where you're at and where we need to take the presentation. So super helpful that you're all so engaged. I think it'd be a great time for a break. How long of a break do we want to go for?
Probably no more than 10 minutes, and we're gonna start right at the 10-minute mark because of the amount of content we still need to cover.
Okay, you got it. Okay, we're gonna do 10 minutes. Do you want me to put a timer up, Christy? Would that be helpful?
Yes, please. That would be great.
Okay,
and then,
everyone.
After break, we're going to be transitioning over to Janie, so we'll switch those gears.
Okay, thank you, Christy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll see you in 10 minutes. Go do lots of stretching.
Hey everyone, I want to go ahead and welcome you back. I hope you had a nice break. I want to thank all our current panelists for all the questions and help you've been answering. And again, just encourage you to continue to keep asking questions. I don't want to dive into any big announcements because we want to keep going. We have a lot to cover. Christy, are you ready to jump back in?
It's actually me, Adam. It's
I'm
Jamie.
sorry. Jamie.
It's okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, Jamie, looks great. Thank you.
All right, perfect. So like
All
you
right.
said, just for the sake of time and the amount of content we have to cover, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. So welcome back, everyone. We're going to go ahead and jump into the data file contents where we will review what is required in the family data file. So let me get all situated and we'll jump right in. So the regulations state that contractors shall establish and maintain a family data file for each family receiving childcare and development services. When a child's residence alternates between the homes of a separated or divorced parents, eligibility, need, and fees must be determined separately for each household in which the child is residing during the time child development services are needed. This means that an agency would need 2 separate family data files with separate applications and separate supporting documents for each household the child resides in. When a child and his or her siblings are living in a family that does not include their biological or adoptive parent, family shall be considered the child and related siblings. Therefore, in this household, there would be 3 different family data files. So let's take a look. The first family would include the unrelated foster child. The second would include the married couple with 1 child. And the third would include the 2 siblings that are foster children. An agency would need a separate family data file with separate applications and supporting documents for each family. So here we have a sample family data file checklist. Each family data file must contain a signed and completed application for services, proof of family size, and notice of action, along with the records used to determine eligibility and for full-day programs, the need for services. We'll be going over the details of these items in other sections, so just hang tight. We'll be sure to give you guys a little bit more examples of what that might look like in your program. In addition to these items, the family data file must include proof of residency. So the determination of eligibility for services shall be without regard to the immigration status of the child or the child's parents, unless the child or the child's parents are under a final order of deportation from the United States Department of Homeland Security. In order to meet this requirement, the state requires programs to have proof of residency in the family data file. So basically, the family must simply live in California. Any evidence of the street address or post office address in California will be sufficient to establish residency. And if the family is homeless, a declaration of intent to live in California is all that is needed. The family data file must also include all child health and current emergency information required by the California Code of Regulations and a copy of the immunization records for non-school age children. Some agencies make their own emergency cards, while others use the Community Care Licensing Form 700 to meet this requirement. Others will use Form CD 9607, which is located within the California Department of Education's forms to meet this requirement. So moving on to exceptional needs. If a child has exceptional needs and is enrolled in a center-based program, documentation is required in order to claim the exceptional needs adjustment factor. So the file must contain current exceptional needs documentation, such as an individualized education program, which is known as the IEP, or an individual family service plan, known as an IFSP. So remember, the IEP or IFSP must be current, or it will result in a material error or an error on your file. So be sure to have a system in place to track that this is monitored in your agency. Now for CDSS programs, a child who has exceptional needs from 13 years of age to 21 years of age may be served. However, in addition to the IEP, a letter by a legally qualified professional is required. This letter must state the child requires the special attention of adults in a child care setting and must include the name, address, license number, and telephone number of the legally qualified professional who is rendering the opinion. So I just want to make note that requiring the attention of adults in a childcare setting is specific to CDSS programs, not to CDE programs. So just wanted to highlight that. And finally, if there is a court order that impacts childcare services, this must be included in the file too. Note that in addition to these documents, as of July 1st, a state preschool program file must also include the family language instrument. Recent guidance for California state preschool program contractors regarding requirements for identifying and collecting data on dual language learners, language characteristics of preschool programs, and language composition of program staff may be found within Management Bulletin 22-04. So there must be a smooth enrollment flow in place to ensure that the neediest families may access services. Take a step back and look at the agency's recruitment and marketing plan. So this is important. How do customers find you? Are you reaching the most neediest families? And when families come to enroll, is the enrollment process easy to understand? Is your checklist easy to follow to ensure families know exactly what is required to apply? And as you start to build a family data file, think of it as telling the family story through documentation. Anyone who picks up the file to review it should clearly understand the family's eligibility story. Therefore, make no assumptions. You'd want to ensure that you have an organized system to set up your files consistently across staff. This will help ensure that there are no missing pieces and will save you in a state review. After you've gathered all items needed to tell the family story, file the checklist or use your file checklist as a good tool or resource to organize your files once documentation is received. In the event that there are any unique situations or you have special requests, such as a request for additional travel time, be sure to include good notes in the file too. Again, let the file tell the story. In addition, be sure to include any staff attestations too. So the act of gathering and maintaining documentation can be very stressful, not only on staff, but to parents as well. So if good systems are not in place, this could be very cumbersome to families and can be very overwhelming to our families and can hinder the enrollment process. So as agencies, we need to work together as a team to support parents through the enrollment process and not deter them. So this is a brief section, but let's go ahead and launch a poll just to do a quick check for understanding. So you'll see it pop up in just a few. Give me just a minute. And you should see it pop up on your screen. I'll give folks a few minutes and then we'll go ahead and discuss the responses. All right, I'm gonna let folks submit their final responses. It looks like quite a bit have answered the question. So I'm gonna give folks about 20 more seconds and then I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end and share the results. Let's go ahead and review the questions. So as part of the enrollment process, RETA must establish and maintain a family data file for each family receiving services. And that is true. So great job, 100% on that question. Number 2, as RETA builds a family data file, she must ensure the file contains, and the correct answer is all of these should be included. So your family data file should include the application that aligns with supporting documentation, case notes for unique situations or special requests, and if applicable, any staff attestations. So I think maybe the few that clicked on application, maybe just clicked it a little too quick, but yes, it's all of these items. Question number 3. Jim is enrolling his daughter CC into your program. In reviewing the family's enrollment packet, what is applicable to prove residency for all subsidized programs? So again, all of these items are applicable. So you can, they must simply live in California. So any evidence of the street address or post office in California will be sufficient. And if you have a family who is homeless, then a declaration of intent to live in California is what you would need to include in your family data file. Question number 4, or scenario number 4. Kevin's parents are divorced. He lives with his dad 50% of the time and his mom the other 50% of the time. How many family data files must you have? So the correct answer is you must have 2 separate family data files. And I will note, this would be assuming that both parents are enrolling in the program. So if you have both of Kevin's parents enrolling, since he's with mom 50% of the time and he's with dad 50% of the time, they would have to establish eligibility separately, and you'd have 2 separate family data files. Now, if you only have one of the parents enrolling, then you would only certify services for the one parent that's enrolling while they have care and supervision of that child, and you'd only maintain that one file. Question number 5. Stanley and his wife, Erin, are eligible to enroll both their biological son, Daryl, and foster child, Gabe. How many family data files would be needed to enroll their children? So the correct answer is 2 separate family data files. So great job. So since they are, their family is determined separately for a biological child, which would just be with Stanley, Erin, and Daryl, which we'll go through in a minute. And then the foster child would be assessed separately. You would need 2 separate family data files. And last but not least, question number 6, it's time to recertify. A couple months ago, Stanley and Erin adopted Gabe. How many family data files would RETA need to create to recertify both Daryl and Gabe? So at this point, since Daryl is now Gabe is now adopted, they are now one, they are a family unit now. So all you would need is 1 family data file. So in this case, when you recertify, you wouldn't have to establish 2 family data files any longer. You would just have to maintain 1 family data file. So great job. Let me check in with folks in the Q&A, or sorry, in the background helping us with questions. Are there any questions or anything that you guys would like to discuss or elaborate before we move on?
I think we're okay to go into family size. We're able to answer the questions here in the back end in the Q&A.
Okay.
And then we'll touch base again after family size.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Thank you, Jamie.
No problem. So we'll go ahead and keep on trucking along. So now that we've gone over what is needed in the family data file, let's go ahead and review family size. So in this section, we're going to review how family size is documented and determined. We'll go over the Title V definitions for family and parent, and then put the definitions into practice by going through a few different scenarios. So the definition of family means the parents and the children for whom the parents are responsible, who comprise the household in which the child receiving services is living. When a child and that child's siblings are living in a family that does not include their biological or adoptive parent, family shall be considered the child and related siblings. The definition of parent means a biological parent, adoptive parent, step-parent, foster parent, caretaker relative, legal guardian, domestic partner of the parent, or any other adult living with a child who has responsibility for the care and welfare of the child. At the time of initial certification, family size is determined. The family size will not be updated until the recertification date, or if the parent voluntarily requests for it to be updated, because the change is in the best interest of the family. So for example, a new baby enters the family, or another family member moves in or out of the home. That results in a reduced family fee. The Title V regulations require us to have actual proof of family size in the family data file, as recorded on the application for services. The parent must obtain and provide supporting documentation of the parents and all children counted in the family size. The documentation must include the relationship of the child to the parent. So the supporting documentation must include at least one item. The regulations specifically state it can be a birth certificate or other live birth records, child custody or court order, adoption documents, foster care placement records, school or medical records, county welfare department records, or other reliable documentation indicating the relationship of the child to the parent. It is the agency's responsibility to review the parent's options with them. In the end, the burden of proof is on the parent to provide the actual supporting documentation. If the documentation of family size is insufficient, the agency shall request any additional documentation necessary to verify family composition and size. Please note that for transfers from CalWORK Stage 1 to 2 or 3, or from Stage 2 to 3, the new agency can accept family size determination of old agency until recertified. Then the parent must present full family documentation. Now that we know what the regulations state, let's take a look at what this might look like in practice. So let's go ahead and review a few scenarios. So in this first scenario, we have dad's girlfriend, and dad's child from a previous relationship. Dad's girlfriend accepts responsibility for the care and welfare of his child. Therefore, dad would like to include her in the family size, which makes them a family of 3. In order to count dad's girlfriend in the family size, her income must be included. And for a need-based program, her need for services must be included as well. So now let's switch this up a little bit with this second scenario, which is very similar but different. We have dad's girlfriend, and dad's child from a previous relationship. In this family, dad's girlfriend does not accept responsibility for the care and welfare of his child. Therefore, she is not included in the family size, making them a family of 2. From my experience, we typically do not see boyfriends or girlfriends counted in the family size unless it will have a positive impact to their program services, so such as being income eligible or a reduction of family fees. So now let's look at scenario number 3. In this scenario, we have dad, dad's girlfriend, dad's child from a previous relationship, and a child in common. Once a family has a child in common, both adults should be counted in the family size. So in this scenario, they would be a family of 4. Let's look at another scenario. So in this scenario, we have dad, dad's partner, and a child from a previous relationship. Dad's partner does not accept responsibility for the care and welfare of his child, making this family a family size of 2. Now, in the event that the couple is married or the partner accepts responsibility for the care and welfare of his child, then they must be counted as a family of 3. Therefore, both of their incomes and need for need-based programs must be included. So let's look at this 6th scenario. So in this one, we have mom's child, and grandma. Typically, grandma cannot be counted in the family size because she is a dependent adult. Oftentimes, there are many individuals in the home, such as grandparents, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, you get the gist. The regulations do not say how many parents a child may have, but the trick is the parent truly responsible for the care and welfare of the child, or are they dependent upon the parent? The regulations do not say that you can include dependent individuals that are living in the home, such as grandparents or young adults. Grandma could be counted as an adult parent if she is clearly responsible for the care and welfare of the child. However, like in previous scenarios, or I guess I should say this is pretty rare, but like in previous scenarios, if you add another adult, then grandma's need and income must be included, and she must not be a dependent of the family, such as being incapacitated. So make sure this is clearly written in your family file and ensure that the file tells the story if she is or if she's any other adult counted in the family size. Now let's discuss households that include foster children and or children that are cared for by a guardian. As stated earlier, the regulations state that children who are living in a family that does not include their biological or adoptive parent, only the child and related siblings shall be counted to determine family size. In this scenario, we have representation of 3 separate families. In this household, we have a married couple with their own child. They would be a family of 3. The set of foster children who are siblings would be a family of 2, and a child with no siblings that is cared for by his grandparents would be a family of 1. It is important that you develop 3 separate family data files and report this household as 3 separate families. Also, when it comes to enrollment, each family would be prioritized separately. So let's go ahead and check for understanding. I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll for family size. Let's go ahead and get that launched. And I'll give folks a few minutes to run through the scenarios, and then we'll go ahead and circle back and check on the responses. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and give folks about 10 more seconds to plug in their responses. It looks like the responses are starting to slow down. I know these scenarios are a little bit lengthier, and I want to give folks enough time. So just a few more minutes and I'll go ahead and end the poll. Or a few more seconds, not minutes. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the responses. All right, let's go ahead and review these scenarios. So Kelly is developing a cheat sheet for staff on when to determine family size. When is family size not determined? So not determined. So whenever there is a change in the family's composition, you would not redetermine family size. So this would be like, for example, parent changes their need, parent says, I want to change my income. Remember, one change doesn't constitute another. So the parent would have to tell you, I want to change my family size before you can go ahead and change it. But you do redetermine family size at certification, recertification, or when a parent voluntarily requests that change. So just an important note. Number 2, as part of the cheat sheet, Kelly includes the type of documentation that may be collected, which indicates the relationship of the child to the parent. Who should staff collect this documentation for? So all children counted in the family size must have a document on file. So ensure that if they are appearing on that application for services, that you have documentation on file to support how that child is, the relationship to the child to the parent. So you'd want to ensure you have at least one piece of documentation for them. Question number 3, Jim and Meredith both have a child from a previous relationship. In addition, they have a child in common. What is their family size? So remember, once they have a child in common, they should all be counted as one family unit. So in this case, since Jim and Meredith both have a child from a previous relationship and a child in common, that would make them a family size of 5. And question number 4. Jim informs us that his adult daughter is also in their home and she's not working, therefore is a dependent upon Jim and Meredith. What is their family size now? So the correct answer is family of 5. Since Jim's adult daughter is a dependent of Jim and Meredith, she cannot be counted in the family size. If she was counted in the family size, then you'd have to collect need and income. So this is rare for them to add an adult child, but it could happen. But if you do, remember to collect that income and the need if it's a need-based program. So I'm going to go ahead and check in with folks to see if there are any lingering questions or anything that requires a little bit more clarification at this time.
It's just a second here. I just have more of a few overarching comments based on the questions that are coming in. One being, I wanted to point out there's a few questions regarding like guardianship documentation. And so if there's many situations where a guardian does not have like formal guardianship papers. And if that's the case, there's an official California form that can be used, and it's called a caregiver's authorization affidavit, which is basically just a form that a grandparent can complete, and you can use that as documentation of guardianship. And there's some other questions. There's a few questions regarding like a minor parent. So a teen, say you have a teen mom or dad, right? Mm-hmm. Just because, I guess, don't get mixed up with how someone is reported as a family on, like, say, their taxes, right? So with how family size is determined for our state programs. It is okay to have a like minor parent, maybe you have a teen mom and the child on the program. Say that teen mom on the program submits a declaration of like they have zero income and they state, I have no income because I'm in high school and my parents, right, are supporting me. Like, that's okay. You don't have to include like their, should I say, like adult parent in the family size. I know that was a little bit clunky. Is there anything else others from our co-presenter panel in the Q&A room would like to add regarding some of the common questions that are coming through as it relates to family size?
Lots of questions about the minor mom, grandma, caretaker, which I think you got them all, but I'm just looking through them to make sure there's any unique circumstances. I feel like you covered it all. So I guess I just want to say, so those individuals that pose those questions, I believe Christy captured the circumstance. But if, because I marked them as we're going to answer that live because we did, but if I missed a nuance in your question, just repost it so that we could address the specific nuance. But in general, what Christy said is what you want to go by. Andrea, I see you came on. Maybe you want to offer any further clarification. There's like 5 or 6. I want to capture them all if I can.
Yes. So there are situations where you're going, I'm sorry, I have a helicopter outside my window. Of course, when I get off mute. There are situations where you're going to want to make sure that you case note the situation. So in all of these different situations, make sure to case note the who's, ands, its, whys of all of it, so that if your file comes up for review, you can explain why you counted it the way you did, especially like for the minor children. And there was one question about a grandmother's supporting the daughter who has the child in the program. And so, but the grandmother, again, it goes back to who claims responsibility for the care and welfare of that child. So if the mom is saying she's the sole caregiver and provides the responsibility for that child, then that mom and her child would be the family, regardless of other circumstances. So just to add on to that.
I think you're hearing how the family presents themselves, and like what Christy, just correct me if I'm going off here, but we get caught in like looking at these like documents that are like, this is a federal tax form, this is a, but like, how does a family present themselves?
Yes.
Hi, this is Vanessa. I just wanted to say absolutely what you're saying. Everything. How are they presenting themselves? Case note, case note, case note. Your file should read like a book. You should be able to read that and go, this is what's going on. If at any point you really feel like, I just really can't make a decision, you have a consultant. Contact your consultant and go over the scenario with your consultant, because there are times you will have to kind of, when I do trainings, I always say, it'd be great if our families fit into boxes, but they don't. They just don't. They come with their whole, little things behind them. So if there's, a time where you're just like, I just really can't, you have a consultant, get a hold of them. But again, how are they presenting themselves when they come in to get the services? I really appreciate you all taking the time to go over those scenarios and answer those questions.
Thank you, Vanessa. Very helpful. I see we have Andrea and Danielle came on camera. So Andrea, I think you were maybe first.
Just to reiterate, again, have a policy in place on how you're going to deal with the situation and apply your policy consistently with all families. So again, and case note, case note, case note.
And then I just wanted to address this question, that keeps coming in about 18-year-olds. An adult is categorized as anyone that is 18 years old or older. So even if the person is still in high school, if they're 18 years old, they are an adult. They have to be either calculated as part of the family, but count as adults. So they would need to calculate their income and have a need for services, etc., if the family wanted to include them. But they do count as an adult. They do not count as a child once they turn 18 years old.
I just wanted to add really quick, there were multiple people asking about the caregiver authorization affidavit. You know what I'm saying. I added the link to Monarch Link's form in the chat box, and I sent that out to everyone through the chat feature, not the Q&A. So if that is a form you don't already have, basically we took the California form and cleaned it up a little bit, and that's available for you.
Thank you for sharing. So I just want to say one more time, I marked a bunch of those questions as answered, because I think I was reading them all and I think we got them, but if I missed yours, just repost like, hey, actually I had a special circumstance I needed you to address, and we'll happily type out an answer for you.
Thank you, Adam. All right, so are we okay to move on to eligibility, or anything
Yes.
lingering? Yes?
Yes.
All right.
Please do. Thank you so much, Janie.
All right, no problem.
When
So
you
let's
get
go.
into the duration of services, speak slowly. No,
I will
Take your time.
speak
We have
very
some great
slow.
scenarios in there.
Yeah, I will speak very slowly. Yeah, and
All right.
let me know if at any point if I'm zooming
Oh
along.
no, you're fine. You're doing great. I know that's kind of like a hot topic,
Yeah.
or maybe it was a hot topic.
No, I think it will be. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Let me turn off my video because I talk with my hands a lot and you don't want to see any of that. So in this next section, we're going to go ahead and review how to determine and document eligibility for families receiving services. Documentation of eligibility is another piece of the family data file. It tells the story of the family's eligibility. Based on the program monitoring instruments, the compliance indicator states, families with children enrolled in the program must meet the eligibility requirements of that contract, and the required documentation is complete. A family data file has been established for each family, including a completed application for services and supporting documentation. For the California Department of Social Services programs, except as otherwise specified in WIC Section 10271 or applicable pilot county, the eligibility duration is for no less than 12 months for the initial certification and recertification. For full-day CSPP, once a family establishes eligibility and need, they will remain eligible and receive services for not less than 24 months. If eligibility period ends before the end of a program year, extend until the end of the program year or kindergarten start date, as long as child is age eligible. For part-day state preschool, once certified, a child shall be deemed eligible for the remainder of the program year and for the following program year, as long as applicable age eligibility requirements are met. Evidence of compliance includes the review of the family data files to ensure records of eligibility, residency, and family size are included and documented accurately on the application for services. In addition, written materials for parents will be reviewed. To ensure protocols are clear to staff, it is recommended that an agency document strategies used to meet the eligibility compliance indicator. In our sample program planning and monitoring guide, we make reference to our enrollment specialist training guide, desk reference manual, or enrollment kit. In addition, noting how the family data file checklist indicates what support documentation was used to verify eligibility. Evidence of eligibility materials given to participants might include an application requirements checklist for parents, along with a reference to the parent handbook. When a reviewer opens up your handbook, will they find the participant qualifications and conditions, including the various eligibility criteria? So it's good to have this embedded within your participant handbook, because both parents, anybody who reviews your program can have all of that criteria available at the tip of their fingers. With that said, let's get started by reviewing the overarching eligibility criteria, followed by duration of services and verification of eligibility. Eligibility is based on either child or family eligibility. For a family to receive subsidized childcare services, parents must provide documentation of eligibility in one or more of these categories. For the California Department of Social Service Programs, a child is eligible if they have an open Child Protective Services case, or when the child has been identified as being at risk of abuse, neglect, or exploitation. Or if a family does not have a qualifying child, then the family must meet one of the other eligibility criteria, such as homelessness, current CalWORKs cash aid recipient, or income eligible up to 85% of the state median income. Please note that for state migrant programs, the family must be a migrant agricultural worker family, which is defined as a family that has earned at least 50% of its income from employment in fishing, agriculture, or agriculturally related work during the 12 months period immediately preceding the date of application for services. For the California State Preschool programs, a child is eligible if they have an open Child Protective Services case, when the child has been identified as being at risk of abuse, neglect, or exploitation, or if the child has exceptional needs. Or if a family does not have a qualifying child, then the family must meet one of the other eligibility criteria, such as homelessness, current CalWORKs cash aid recipient, reside within the approved free and reduced price meal program school, or if the family is income eligible. Before looking at how to verify eligibility, let's review the details around when to determine eligibility and the duration of services. Parents interested in applying for new or ongoing childcare services must provide eligibility documentation at the time of certification, and for full-day programs, recertification. The Title V regulations inform contractors that at initial certification, the authorized representative of the contractor shall certify or deny each of the family's or child's eligibility and need for childcare and development services after reviewing the completed application and documentation contained in the family data file. So once certified as eligible to receive services, except as otherwise provided in law or regulation, the contractor shall consider the family to meet all eligibility and/or need requirements. For not less than 12 months for CDSS programs, the remainder of the program year or following year for part-day state preschool programs, and not less than 24 months for full-day state preschool programs. This means that once a family establishes eligibility and, if applicable, need at the time of certification, their level of service will remain the same for the entire certification period. The only exceptions apply to a family whose requests to be disenrolled, or if a family does not follow the agency's disenrollment policy, or a family who is certified as income eligible in a full-day program and during the certification period, their income exceeds the program's state median income. Beyond reporting income that exceeds the state median income, there is no requirement to report any other changes to eligibility or, if applicable, need for services. However, a family may at any time voluntarily request a change to their service level. Parents interested in applying for services must provide eligibility documentation at the time of certification and for full-day programs, recertification. Once a family's eligibility has been verified, the eligibility timeline starts on the date the agency representative signs the application for services, certifying that eligibility and, if applicable, need criteria has been met. Depending upon the program, the approved duration for services may vary. For the California Department of Social Services, or for the CDSS programs, once a family establishes eligibility and need, they will remain eligible and receive services for not less than 12 months. This means that you will not collect or review a family's eligibility until 12 months plus 1 day has passed. So let's go ahead and check in. And we're going to first do an eligibility criteria example for the General Child Care Program, or CCTR program. So give me just a second, but we're going to go through it together. There's going to be a couple slides with a scenario, but let me go ahead and launch this scenario so you can have the question up. So here we have Toby's application that was approved on September 15th, 2022, making him eligible to receive general child care services. Based on state regulations, what is the earliest date that RETA can collect documentation to recertify Toby? So I'll give you guys a few seconds to go ahead and plug in your response. All right, it's kind of exciting. It's seeing everybody go ahead and participate in these polls. So it looks like there's still quite a bit of activity on here. I'll give folks about 15 more seconds, and then we'll go ahead and review the scenario together. All right, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the next slide and end the poll. So here within this example, we have 12 months plus 1 day ends up landing on September 16th, 2023. So for the most part, we got this one correct. Note that we will cover the recertification timelines within the application for services section as well. But when you're looking at a CDSS program, and in this example, we have a CCTR program, they have 12 months plus 1 day to go ahead and start that recertification process. So correct answer, September 16th, 2023. I'd also like to note that, or as a reminder, the certification period may be different if you are in a pilot county. So just be sure that you look at your county specific contract information to ensure that you are recertifying accordingly. Now, for the, sorry guys. For the part day preschool programs effective July 1st, 2022, once a family establishes eligibility, they will remain eligible and receive services for the remainder of the program year and for the following program year, as long as child is age eligible. So let's go ahead and try an example or try a scenario for this program. So for the Part Day CSPP program, you will see a poll launch. Let me go ahead and stop sharing previous one and launch the Part Day. Let me go ahead and launch it and share the scenario. So here we have Cece's application, which was approved on August 15, 2022, making her eligible to receive Part Day preschool services for this year. Cece is 3 years old. The last day of school for the next 2 years falls on June 7th. What is Cece's duration of services for the Part Day preschool program? So let's go ahead and let folks respond to this scenario. We'll go ahead and check. We'll go ahead and walk through the response together. All right, I'll give folks a few more seconds. It looks like it's starting to slow down, but we have really great engagement here, guys. It's really exciting. Like I said, it's great to try these scenarios, especially if you participate or you operate multiple different program types, just to really have that knowledge base for all the programs you offer. All right, so let's go ahead and walk through this scenario. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results. So here we have, again, Retta approved the application on August 15th, 2022, and the last day of school for the next fiscal year or program year is June 7th, 2024. So since the application, so the approved duration of services is August 15th, 2022 through June 7th of 2024, which is the last day of school that the program is open to provide services. And again, considering that the child is age eligible. In the event that Cece will be going to kindergarten the following year, then she would only be certified through June 7th of 2023, as she will not be age eligible to transfer thereafter. So let's go ahead and try for full day CSPP programs. Here we have a full day state preschool program, and effective July 1st, 2022, once a family establishes eligibility and if applicable need, they will remain eligible and receive services for not less than 24 months. Sorry, guys. In addition, if the eligibility period ends before the end of the program year, you'd extend until the end of the program year or kindergarten start date, as long as child is age eligible. Note that the absolute last day of services is September 30th of the year child should attend kindergarten. So just a little reminder for folks as well, school should be in session by then for kindergarten start date. So let's go ahead and look at a full day preschool example. Here we have Jim's application for services, and it was approved on May 18th, 2022, which happened to be his 3rd birthday. Jim is eligible to start kindergarten on August 27th, 2024. What is Jim's duration of services for the full day state preschool program? So let me go ahead and launch that poll. I'm sorry, guys, did I not share results for the Part Day CSPP? I'm so sorry. let's do the full day. I apologize. Let me launch it. So what is Jim's duration of service for the full day state preschool program? All right, I'm going to give folks 10 more seconds to plug in their response. Anybody who's finalizing their response, and then we'll go ahead and review the response together. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, and I will share the results this time. Sorry. All right. So 24-month eligibility would fall on May 19th, 2024. However, since the 24-month eligibility period ends before the end of the program year, we are able to extend services through June 30th, 2024. Jim's parents would really like him. So here's just like another extra kind of caveat. Jim's parents would really like him to stay in the preschool program until he starts kindergarten. So this is okay. He can be extended to his kindergarten start date, but not to exceed September 30th. So I'm going to go ahead and end or stop sharing all this lovely stuff out of the way. Okay. So note that 24-month eligibility regulations were effective on July 1st, 2022. So for families that were enrolled prior to July 1st, contractors must recertify them at the 12-month mark, as we have in the past. If they are still eligible at recertification, the new certification period will follow the current regulations. And before we move on to verification of eligibility, I'd like to go over a few scenarios when children are moved or enrolled between CDE and CDSS programs that have different duration of services, just because we know that there's been a couple questions around these particular scenarios. So, for example, we have a child that is enrolled in state preschool, and we will be transferring to a general childcare or alternative payment program during their full day state preschool 24-month eligibility period. Or maybe we have a child who is enrolled in full day state preschool and a sibling is later enrolled in the contractor's general childcare or AP program. So if either of these scenarios apply, the first step will be to determine if the child is eligible for the other program. For example, review the current state preschool application for that child. First, does the application approval date fall within the 24-month program transfer or sibling enrollment date? Second, does the family meet both an eligibility and need criteria according to the program the child is being enrolled in? So you'd want to go through both of those questions carefully. Based on the outcome of those questions, you would take the appropriate action. If you answer yes to both, then issue the notice of action to transfer the child between programs or approve sibling enrollment. Eligibility timeline for CDSS program will be the 12 months from the date of transfer or sibling enrollment. If you answered no to either of those questions, the family will need to submit current documentation to verify eligibility and need for the CDSS program. The strategy to handle similar scenarios will be different if a child is being transferred from a CDSS program into a CDE preschool program that has a different duration of services. So let's go ahead and review that. So for example, we have a child that is enrolled in a general childcare program and is now age eligible to transfer into the state preschool program during their 12-month eligibility period. In this scenario, you'd want to review the current approved duration of service timeline and transfer the child to state preschool based on the current eligibility duration. To make this happen, you'd issue a notice of action to transfer the child from general childcare to state preschool. The eligibility period will continue through the original 12-month duration period for that child. Once the 12-month eligibility is up for ongoing services, the family must submit documentation to recertify. If eligible, family will continue receiving preschool services for no less than 24 months from the time an approved recertification application has been completed. As a reminder, parents can request to be recertified at any time to extend their eligibility. So for example, a parent can request to recertify at the time of transfer into the state preschool in order to extend their eligibility at the time of enrollment into state preschool. In the next scenario, a child is enrolled in the alternative payment and a sibling is later enrolled in the contractor's state preschool program during their 12-month eligibility period. To make this happen, the family must provide any additional required documentation needed for enrollment of sibling in state preschool. Next, an NOA must be issued to enroll the sibling in the state preschool program. The preschool eligibility of 24 months begins on the date the notice of action is issued. So I know that was a lot of information, and we've gone through several scenarios. So I wanted to check in to see if there are any sections or anything that we need to cover or go through in a little bit more detail. Let me see. Folks might be busy answering questions. I'm not hearing any.
We are. I think while I give folks a moment to decide what they want to ask out loud, I just was typing an answer, so I'll just say it out loud. A couple folks responded to the scenarios going, wait, I thought it was post July 1st. So just to clarify again, full day CSP after July 1st, eligible for 24 months unless they ask for a voluntary research. So if they're enrolled in February of 2022 and they volunteer to update their info with the limitations that we're all aware of, that they can't raise their fee, can't lower their schedule, et cetera, then they would have access to the 24 months. For part day, utilizing your 120-day period prior to the start of the fiscal year, that's also eligible for 24 months. So I think a couple of people saw that, hey, wait, I think like Jim was your example. He enrolled in May of 2022. That would be okay. And did I articulate that correctly? Please, anyone jump in if I did not. There were several questions on that.
I think you did, but yes, if there's anything that needs further clarification or anybody want to expand on that.
With that, I'll just open to the group. Any other questions that anyone has seen or coming in?
I'm sorry if we're being quiet. There are a lot of questions coming through. We're just trying to kind of gather our thoughts with them. And again, just to reiterate, when you're asking your question, make sure you're very specific on what you're asking. Let's see here.
I'm trying to sift through them too to see if there's anything that's like a common question. And I know that we're kind of coming into the tail end of our time with everyone. Our time went by so fast. Did we want to jump into part of eligibility? I know that we're going to be going into the sections in detail regarding documentation, or did we want to go through any questions?
I think that, Janie, let's spend a few moments, if it's okay with the group, to actually go through some of the questions, and we can even read them out loud and answer them out loud too.
Perfect.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I think so. Just with the time, we can go ahead and carry this over for tomorrow, just so we will spend time in those sections.
Yeah, and then we're not jumping into a whole another section. So we have about 10 minutes left. Let's see here. I'm gonna just start picking questions. Does that sound okay with you?
Sounds like a plan.
Answer them together.
We will answer them as a team.
Adam, don't leave us there. No. There you are, Andrea. Okay. If I'm going to just read them. Okay, so if grandma fills out the caregiver's authorization to care for her daughter's child, but the daughter is in and out of the household, would family size still be counted as one? So actually, this is a good discussion question for us. So I'm going to share with you what my understanding is. So we are going to only look at that families. So yes, this happens, especially with parents that are, sorry, but like on drugs or in things like that. So it's my understanding that you're going to only look at that family at the time of certification. So at the time of certification, if mom and dad, the other parent, is not in the home, grandma is responsible for the child, you're going to look at that then, and not look at that again until it's time to recertify that family. In the event, though, that the parent's back in the home and they don't want the grandma, right? The grandma's no longer the guardian, the parent's the guardian. At that point, the grandparent can voluntarily request a change in their services and transfer that child over to the other parent. Is that, what do you think, Andrea? Yeah.
I think so too. Like, we're taking a snapshot in time at the time of the application for services. So like, what is going on in that particular moment? And then, like you said, if they want to change that at any time, they submit a request to change maybe their family size or whatever might be your situation, then we can do it then. But
we really don't want to, every time mom or dad moves in and out of the home, we want continuity of care for the child. So don't get caught up in their mess, in a sense.
Yeah,
a lot of the questions that came up or in the flow of our Q&A were situational, but again, always remember it's a snapshot in time. So whatever Polaroid you take of that family at that moment is what you're going to use to certify them with. And that certification is either good for 12 months or 24 months, depending on what program it is. So again, just when you're perplexed or you're thinking about it, remember that actual physical camera. Okay, I'm taking a picture of this family at this point in time. And so kind of that helps put things in perspective. But yes, I would agree with both of you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Danielle, you have a question here that you would like to answer live regarding enrolling one child in general childcare and another child in state preschool.
Yeah, and the question was, do you need to have 2 notices of action? And the answer for that is yes. You would have a notice of action for the child in state preschool and a notice of action for the child in CCTR.
And just to kind of piggyback on that, the reasoning for that is truly the appeal information. So you have families enrolled in 2 different programs, and technically they can appeal at any time what's on that notice of action. So the one for state preschool is going to have the Department of Education, and vice versa for the general child care.
Correct.
Danielle, while we have you on, are there any other questions on there that you would like to talk over live?
Yes,
Yeah,
I have.
okay.
I just saw one. I'm pretty sure you guys went through this example already, but just to re-say it out loud, that if a family was certified for part-day state preschool for this program year, so 2022-23, even though they were certified, say in May of 2022, if they're receiving services on or after July 1st, 2022, and they are going to get 24-month eligibility as long as the child is age eligible for the following program year. So that's something important to note, which is different than full day state preschool, because they would have received services before July 1st. But for part day, because they did not receive services prior to July 1st in this program year, they will get 24-month eligibility. All of the notices of action need to be updated to reflect that for all families. And note that that is different from full day. So
kind of, Danielle, in my head, whether it's part day or full day, is did the child start care from July 1st after? Would that be?
that's correct.
Okay. Any other questions that you would like to answer live?
I'm scrolling down this long list of questions.
Oh no, I know. Yeah, and we'll get through them.
Well, let me, Chris, I just want to reiterate too where we're at so that folks know, since we're at the end of our day. Can I just say that real quick? Okay. So what Christy and Janie pointed out is that we only have maybe 10 or 11 more slides left when we go into eligibility. Well, since that's like a nice stopping point, we're going to pick up eligibility in the morning, and we're seeing the questions. So like, we're just going to start organically answering these questions as a group. Yes. So we'll hang out for a while and go through these. So if you're like, I got all my questions answered, I'm a pro now, I'm ready. You can go ahead and clock out for the day, and we'll see you back here at 9 a.m. where you will pick up eligibility. But if you want to hang out and hear the Q&A, that's awesome. We love that. Either way, we're going to record it, so you can also pick up the recording. I also want to thank my panelists for being here. Thank you for helping answer questions. We have you through noon, but if you need to leave at noon too, please do so. But myself and Monarch Lincoln team will hang out as long as we can to answer as many questions as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam, for that. Yes, and if you have questions regarding like the actual documentation for verifying eligibility, we are going to be starting with that first thing tomorrow. Same thing with income, which is part of the eligibility. So please hold off on those questions. So we're just going to go through questions that pertain to the topics that we discussed today.
Oh, I did have one more thing. Can I add one more thing?
Yeah, anytime.
Okay. So I know this question kept coming up after I had said something about it, but just to be clear, for 18-year-olds that are in the family still in high school, if they are 18 years old, regardless of if they're enrolled in high school or not, they are considered an adult. So that means if the family chooses to count them in the family size, they would have to provide documentation for eligibility and need, if applicable, if you're in a full day program. So I know that there is some confusion out there about if they're in high school versus not in high school and how would they count. It's the same regardless, as long as the person is 18 years or older, they're considered an adult. So just wanted to make that super clear.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit different than what folks have heard all along the way up to this point. And I think for those kiddos they're not kids, young adults that turn 18 in high school, the parent can simply have their adult child go and get like a training verification form. Would that be, and that would substantiate their need. But if that adult child is working, then you're going to also need to include their income too.
That's correct.
Okay, anything from our Department of Social Service folks? Are there any areas on or any questions on here that you would like to talk about live?
No, I would have only probably brought up the 18-year-old too, and Danielle, great job. Done with that.
Thank you, Vanessa. There's a first, I'm going to just go ahead and start reading down the questions at this point. So the first question, in this question, I'm not sure if the Department of Ed or Department of Services can answer this at this time, but Maria has asked, will the 9600 be updated to reflect disability status? I'm assuming it's not disability status, but like with exceptional needs. Will the CD 7617 form be revised to reflect disabilities under Section 5 based on eligibility, family eligibility for services? So I'm assuming this is also the exceptional needs.
I'm assuming that question is for CDE since they're CDE forms, unless DSS is also labeled them the same number.
I think the 9600, I think it's difficult to read the question, but how it's worded, but I think what this person is asking is basically, is the sample application for services forms going to reflect children with exceptional needs?
Yeah, as well as the notice of action.
Yeah, I think there is people at CDE working on that. I can't tell you how soon or how quick that's going to happen. As you can see, there's a lot of other guidance that is coming out. So making sure that our top priority is getting guidance to contractors, and then we'll work on forms. But just as a reminder to all contractors out there, there is no requirement to use any specific form. So if you need to modify it, if you need to add things to make sure you are covering all of the eligibility and information on the notice of action, please do so. Like it's the responsibility of the contractor to make sure all things that are possible are on that form that you guys are, or whatever form you're choosing to use. So feel free to edit it, use a different one. I'm sure there's plenty of examples out there across programs of different forms other than just the CD 9600 or E whatever 9600 it is. So feel free to use any form, modify it how you wish, just make sure all the information that you need is on there.
It is editable. I've already done that for our program. So you can completely edit it to add those in.
You hit it on the nose, Danielle. Thank you. And then Aurora asked, to clarify, when a family has other children from previous marriages, we must have proof that the children are with the parents full-time or half-time to be included in the family size, correct? The way I'm reading this is, no, we don't need to have like actual proof of the parents being full-time or half-time and so forth. Your goal is, in order for that parent and child to be counted in the family size, you need to have a document that has at least one parent and the child's name listed on it, right? Something, an official document connecting a parent to the child. But as far as who has who, you don't need to have specific documentation or proof. Would that be correct, Andrea? Is that your understanding?
Yes, and if the only exception, I would say, if there are existing court documents that establish who has which children and when, then those would need to be included in the file. And sometimes those court documents over time, if they did, might have changed, and they've just like informally changed that. So again, have the parents write out a statement, have your family data file tell the story. The parents don't need to go back. So now they're possibly cordial. They don't need to go back and have like their official court documents change, but you do need to have something in the file explaining those differences. Next question. So part day and full day state preschool duration of services is based on our program calendar year, not by the duration of the signed application.
Janie, do you want to go back to the slide that has a duration of services for state preschool programs on there, just so we have a visual? So for part day state preschool so full day state preschool is year round. Like there's really like no stopping
Based
point
on
in
their
it,
certification
right?
date, and yes.
It's based on their certification date. For part day programs their part day, part year programs, there is a stopping point. So you're going to basically, as long as the child is age eligible, you're going to certify that child in part day for the remainder of that program year and for the following program year. And for full day state preschool, you're going to certify the child and truly once they're certified in full day state preschool based on the new regs, they can be served until their kindergarten start date, which cannot be past September 30th. And okay, Danielle answered that question live. Okay, Maricela. Danielle, did you answer that question live for Maricela? Regarding the certification for part day? Yes, we did answer that one live. Please give us an example of a transfer from Cmig to full day state preschool. It would be the same examples that we just shared regarding like we used alternative payment and general childcare. It's the same exact examples. It's basically not necessarily the program we are sharing, but transferring between the two different departments that have, or two different programs that have different duration of services.
I was trying to flip to that scenario.
Yeah, so it's the same exact scenarios. You can just plug in a different program there. Okay, it's moved around a little bit. Okay, Adam, are you typing out Maricela's answer there? And
just for the ones that Danielle said she answered live, because Danielle had to step away now, so I'm just marking them.
Okay.
So make sure we get there, everyone.
And when I'm saying folks' names, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing them correctly. I'm horrible about that. So I just want you to know that I apologize if I'm saying your name incorrectly. Okay. Nathali, for scenario of CAP to state preschool transfer, 24-month eligibility would be driven from the notice of action date, not the application for services certification date. Is that correct? For example, AP eligibility was certified on 8/1/22. State preschool child enrolls on 9/20/22. State preschool 24-month eligibility is effective September 20th, 22, not August 1st, 2022. So if I'm reading this correctly, so the effective date for that state preschool child, they're going to start on September 20th of 2022. And that would be that specific child's enrollment date. So that would be correct. And then basically they can attend until they're age eligible or until their kindergarten start date. Margaret, in the last scenario of a child enrolled in general childcare and a sibling enrolls in state preschool later on, it says to collect any additional required documentation needed for enrollment. What would the additional documentation be? Possibly like licensing documentation. Is Danielle on here still, or did she have to?
I'm not sure, but
I think, yeah,
that is correct. I mean, it's really anything that's required upon enrollment at a
of that
center.
program.
Mhm. That's
Yes.
typically what's needed additionally.
So you would collect any documents you would need for that file, but you wouldn't need to collect like income or any of those things because it was already established. And CCTR is the more restrictive, so you would be able to add just those applicable documents for your CSPP child.
Thank you. For transfers from Cheryl, for transfers from general childcare to state preschool, is an application required for state preschool? Just the notice of action, as long as their eligibility period is still okay. If there's a family with 2 children, one is enrolled in the Department of Services or Department of Social Services and one in the Department of Ed, does the family need 2 separate family data files? No, they can have the same you'll want everything in the family data, the same family data file, so that file will tell the story of that family. It does not need to be separate data files. You just are going to need 2 separate notice of actions.
You do want to make sure that you're following your agency policy though. So if your agency is established that each child has their own, again, then follow your agency policy.
But there's no like CDE
There's no
or
requirement.
CDS, rule. If a state preschool full day family enrolled prior to July 1st requests to extend their eligibility, do we need to collect income and need documents again? Or do we extend their eligibility with the documents we use to determine need and income from their So if a family is requesting to extend their eligibility, basically they need to submit new eligibility and need documentation. You wouldn't, they're basically in a sense asking to be recertified earlier.
Yeah.
Next question, Miss or
Soraya.
Soraya.
Oh,
For
sorry.
the part day state preschool program, since they are enrolled before July 1st, but start after July 1st, do we need to go back and add the eligibility has been extended to 12 months? If basically, if the kind of going back to what Danielle and I were discussing earlier, if the child has not started care, so any child that did not start state preschool services July 1st or after, right? Then you're going to extend their eligibility for the 24 months or until they're age eligible. If they used childcare services before July 1st, then you're going to need to certify them again. Monica, what would be appropriate need documentation for a high schooler to be included in the family, and would childcare be affected by that? Yes, because you're treating that adult as another, in a sense, they're like another parent in the home. So for a high schooler, when we get into need documentation tomorrow afternoon, they would fall under like the educational program verification. So we will talk through those details of what that looks like tomorrow. And then you're going to take that young adults need and basically look for overlapping time with the other parents in the home.
Yeah.
And we will go into that actually in detail tomorrow. So how can they continue extend care if they are disenrolled? This is regarding 24-month eligibility until kinder starts. Once a family is disenrolled, then they need to complete the entire certification process as if they were a new family. So once a family is disenrolled, they're disenrolled, they would be treated as a new family. Just want to verify that we are allowed to give parents 30 days to turn in physical form or immunizations. That's a licensing question. Ms. Andre, that's correct, right? I see your hand.
Andrea just needed to step away for one
Andrea.
moment. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, she's
She's
multitasking. That is correct. Okay. It was
Impressive.
correct in my head, but then I was like, Maria, for children with disabilities, do we need to collect income since they are deemed categorically eligible? Children with, okay, so for children with exceptional needs, do we need to collect income since they are deemed categorically eligible? Will the applicant, so you would need to collect income to determine if this is a full day program, you would need to collect income to determine if they would have a family fee. And on that income, you just need to write like not eligibility used to determine if the family has a fee.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about you can update your own application for services forms until further samples of that come out from both departments. Hi, Kathy McKibben. Sorry, that's an old friend of ours. For the Department of Social Services to the Department of Education, step 2. Issue notice of action to enroll sibling in state preschool program. Preschool eligibility 24-month begins on the day the NOA is issued. Is that the date the California Department of Education notice of action was issued, or the date the Department of Social Services NOA is issued?
So I would imagine, so they'd have to issue like a transfer NOA, but their 12-month would start when the CDE issues a notice of action, correct? That's what would start the 24-month clock?
Yes.
Or duration?
Jenny, if a child turns 5 during the process of recertification, can we still certify the family for full day state preschool? They need to fall basically within the age definitions for the full day state preschool program. Once they're age eligible for kindergarten, then they're going to be going to kindergarten, especially in full day state preschool. There is no like wrap feature like they have in part day state preschool. Let's see. Next question. On her example with the calendar, she has it as a full day state preschool example, and it also says full day in the sample. Okay. Yes, if you want to email us a screenshot, that would be great. And you can just email that to hello@monarchlink.com, and then we can respond to you there, and then also include your question with that. What happens when you have a child that is in general childcare, toddler or infant, and have one that it is in state preschool? Then basically you need to issue 2 notice of actions. The children enrolled in general childcare will have 12-month eligibility, and the children enrolled in state preschool will have 24-month eligibility. Anna, so at initial enrollment, this would be a family size of 1. That question is going to need to be expanded upon. If you are talking about like a foster child or guardian, yes, they're a family of 1. Okay. And next question, can the parent enrolling sign the statement for releasing authorization employer contact for the other parent if both parents are working? So the authorization to release employment needs to come from the parent, that the actual parent who's working at that place. So if my husband is working at Target, I can't sign his released to authorize information from the employer. That needs to come from the person, the parent who is working at that location. Because like Retta, the enrollment specialist, if she sends that over to Target and it has my name on it, she doesn't know who I am. I can't release basically or give permission for my husband or spouse.
Correct.
Siblings, one is general childcare and one is state preschool. Oops, sorry, general child care child needs to recertify after 12 months. What if the family is no longer income eligible during recertification of the child, but the other is eligible state preschool child? Then the general child care child is simply not eligible, and the state preschool child still has their 24 months. So again, you have two different notice of actions, two different programs, two different duration of services. So you would need to issue a disenrollment for the child enrolled in the general child care program.
Can I throw a wrench in there, Christy?
Yep.
But just noting also for the state preschool child, if they were certified based on income eligibility, they would still have to be within the income ceiling.
Or meet one of the other eligibility criteria. So, right. Which could simply be like the FRPM.
Correct.
There's so many different eligibility criteria that child could possibly fall under, but yes, you are 100% correct. It's tricky though, because of the whole 85 percentile.
Yeah, it's likely they would still like reach it, like they would still be, because it gives them a little bit more cushion.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Okay, Irene, what if I have a grandparent that has guardianship of a child? They come in to enroll in full day state preschool. Mom is in the home, but she's incapacitated. Do we still count her in the family size? You're going to count the parent who basically is responsible for that child. So Andrea, what would you do? It would just be one or the other, right? Or
it kind of depends on the situation.
I know, yeah, it's not like that. So if mom's in the home and she's incapacitated, truly mom is responsible for the care and welfare of that child. But yes, there are special situations, especially if that grandparent has like legal guardianship over that child.
And depending on the severity of the incapacity, they could potentially count her in the family size and have that documentation to back up that she's fully incapacitated and unable to care for her child. So in that situation, it's possible. But when in doubt and you're not sure, email your consultant.
And that one's very specific too, because it has a lot of other layers
nuances
that we would need to like talk through. What if mom is unstable and only had part-time and child is now with grandma and mom nowhere to be found, but grandma is a full-time employee and needs more hours?
So potentially grandma could fill out a caregiver's affidavit and self-declare that they are the one responsible for the child now, since mom is not in the home, and request to recertify under grandma to get more hours. She would need to submit an employment verification for her hours, and that would work.
I think that would probably be the cleanest too, and easiest for the easiest on the child.
Yeah.
Isabel, if we have a child in general childcare and one in state preschool, we do not need 2 files. All we need is 2 NOAs. That is correct, unless your agency has a different policy. That is correct. Cheryl, do you also need an application for services for each program? No, you can have a shared application for services for both programs. It's just the notice of action that needs to be separate because they have different appeal units. Stacy, back to the gym scenario. Jim, okay. If
Oh,
you
hold on.
run a year-round state preschool program, the recent date would be 24 months and 1 day, not June 2024 date, right? So with the new regs, basically it says that that child can receive services until the end of the program year. I can't pull out right now off the top of my head, but there's another regulation that allows for that full day state preschool child to be enrolled up to their kindergarten start date. So truly, when you're enrolling these children in full day state preschool program, their last day that they're eligible, I guess don't get so caught up in the 24-month 1 day, is going to be their kindergarten start date, not to exceed September 30th. Denise, are there times when a family is enrolling in general and state preschool that we can issue only one notice of action documenting both times? No, when a child is or family is enrolled in general childcare and state preschool, it's going to always need to be 2 different notice of actions, because a parent can appeal anything on that notice of action, and there's different appeal units. Megan, just circling back to the previous question, Pilot County. Okay, Loretta, are you still with us?
I am still here.
Okay, do you want me to read this one, and then do you want to take it? It's a Pilot County question.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. If we certify a child for part day or full day state preschool at age 2, and they are certified for 2 years of service with us, and then they are TK eligible but choose not to attend TK, so they end up staying with us for a 3rd year in preschool, would we need to recertify them?
Yes, you would still need to recertify them because the expiration is the 24 months or the end of the program year, which is now statewide regulation, not just pilot counties any longer.
Thank you. Barbara, I was a little confused when we were going over the enrollment of siblings alternative payment openings. Would you be able to review that section? Say there is a child enrolled in general childcare and has a sibling that wants to enroll for state preschool. Is there any priority there? So really how you think about this is, say the family's enrolled in general childcare, that sibling doesn't need to go on the waiting list. So they don't need to be like reprioritized. If the trick is there an opening in one of your other programs that can serve that child? So think of it as the family is enrolled. So once that family is enrolled, that sibling doesn't need to go on the waiting list and be reprioritized for other programs you might have within your agency.
You would just need to collect the required documentation for that sibling to enroll them in the CSPP, and then issue your NOA for the CSPP services.
Erica, we had children who were in general childcare that were confirmed for state preschool in June and started full day state preschool after July 1st. Would that still fall in the same mindset as part day state preschool, or that's still going to be considered, it's going to fall under the 12-month eligibility because that child was served before July 1st? Rita, if the family was certified for state preschool on June 28th, but didn't attend school until July 5th, does this family have 24-month eligibility?
It sounds like they were certified prior to, they've just not been attending.
They just didn't attend, so they would be on the 12-month eligibility?
I would think so.
I mean, again, status quo, what July 1st forward, apply the same rule to everybody. So yes, July 1.
If a child was enrolled prior to July 1st, does child's eligibility start from 12 months to 24 months in full day program? No, you would need to recertify that. So yeah, just you think about that July 1st date. For full day programs, when were they certified? There's a comment on here that says, I missed the last comment about updating the notice of action.
I think that may have been when Danielle was explaining, like say a child is, their services run through like May 24th, but they're going to be certified, or no, I'm sorry, like they're going to be certified until their kinder date. It ends June something. You'd have to communicate that in an NOA if you're going to be extending it. So anytime you need to extend the duration, like they're going to stay with us until their kinder start date, you need to communicate that through a notice of action.
Some of these questions we've already answered, so I'm going to kind of read through them. Do you all want to read through them too? Because it's about 12:30 now.
Yeah.
A lot of them are duplicates.
Okay. Let's see here. Maybe we hop to some of these current ones. You want to start? Should we just start with Barbara's? I have a question because is it like 12:15?
Yeah.
I have a question regarding enrolling siblings that qualify for 2 different program types. If there is one child that is already enrolled and a sibling would like to enroll, does their sibling need to be added onto the waiting list? No. And wait for those above them. So we did just answer that one for somebody else. Jenny, just adding a bit more information. The child is TK eligible, not eligible for kindergarten at the moment, and just turned 5 during the process of recertification. Does the child have to apply for TK right now, or can we recertify the child for full day state preschool? Andrea, they can certify the child for full day state preschool, right, Andrea?
As far as I know, there was something that came out in the management bulletin the other day that I'm still looking over, but we did up until this point. So because they're not kinder eligible, so they would
They're
be able
TK,
to, they're
yeah.
TK eligible.
And Kimberly, for a 3-year-old that started on August 18th in our part day state preschool, they are now eligible for 2 years. Do we recertify at the end of the school year to continue eligibility to the 23-24, or issue a notice of action at enrollment that states, yeah, so basically once you certify them on August 18th, 2022, they are eligible to attend part day state preschool until the end of your school year in 2024. So you don't need to certify them again like we have in the past. Like they're good to go for basically almost 2 years. And we're going to take one last question from Manisha. Full day state preschool. If certification period ends May or June 30th, can child still stay if he goes to kindergarten without recertification? Yes, they can stay until their kindergarten start date.
Make sure
From
to case
July
note
1st for, yes.
Yeah, make sure to case note it and put that in your file that it was requested to do so.
Christina, for state preschool part day, if a child was enrolled 120 days before July 1st, it was stated they qualify for 24 months. That is correct. But you do need to do a notice of action to extend it because they aren't starting services until, you know, probably like August of 2022. Christina, Adam North, 11:47 a.m. I love it.
Christina's citing the answer, which you just said is correct. The thing I don't remember is if the example was part day or full day, but in what I wrote, if it was part day, it's correct. If it's full day, then we have to go back and look at the slide. Not that we got it wrong, I just don't remember what the example was on the slide. Yeah. Full. I think we've said that quite a few times, but yeah, let us know if it's still any confusion.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, we still have a lot of folks that have held on. Diane is wanting us to define a 5-year-old child. Janie?
At the top of my head, I need to pull it up, but I believe.
Okay, you know our cheat sheet, because you have the slide, you know our cheat sheet way back from income, the right age and income cheat sheet that we have. Okay, so on here, basically, I mean, you're gonna have children that turn 5, right? And like in state preschool, but they fall under the 4-year-old definition.
And again, it's a snapshot in time. So
yes, so don't overthink it. So like basically a 4-year-old is defined as a child who has their birthday on or before December 1st. So technically they could even be a 3-year-old, but based on this definition for state preschool programs, they're 4. So there's a lot of 5-year-olds, right, that are in state preschool based on their birth date. The trick is, where do they fall within the definition for state preschool programs? Then we have this nice cheat sheet here that actually has like the month and the year of the child's birth date, so that you can easily see, okay, are they kindergarten, TK, or state preschool eligible? And you have that in your PDF. And for Monarch Link members, you can actually print this page out. Okay, I think we are going to conclude for today. Is that okay, Adam? You're
looking like, thank you. Looking like we addressed everything. Go ahead.
And if there's a question that we're unable to answer today, or we accidentally like skip by it, please, if you can copy and paste that and into tomorrow mornings when we log in. I just want to make sure we didn't miss any questions by making an assumption that there was an understanding there. So we're going to be with you for the next couple days.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. More opportunities. Yeah, thanks to everyone who decided to hang out. I hope the Q&A session was valuable. And like we said, we want to provide organic opportunity as well. So thanks to everyone who hung on. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Janie. Thank you, Larita, who hung with us the whole time. Larita, gold star. You made it all the way. Thank you all. Thank you all for your participation today. I hope you have a wonderful day. We will see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.